What's up, IGN? Joshua here with Eric Boba Fett Goldman to talk about last night's Walking Dead episode, Coda. Before we go into it, full spoilers because some crazy stuff happened. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing here? So big thing was the death of Beth. Oh my God, what was your reaction?
My reaction was, I wish that had been handled better, honestly.
Yeah.
This was the mid-season finale. They're kind of trying to go out big. We all figured a big...
And Beth had a strong season.
She had a strong season. I liked the character. I didn't love her. I liked the character, though. But I will say, the way her actual death happened, if you logic it, it kind of... Unfortunately, it actually hurts Beth as a character. Because it was a pretty inept attempt to kill Dawn,
Yeah.
The lady's wearing like cop body armor. Go for the throat, go for the face. But more so what did Beth think was gonna happen?
Right.
Because everyone's aiming their guns at each other. What if they just start firing? Which is what I thought was gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the Reservoir Dogs waiting to happen.
Right.
So really, if you think that if she really thought things through, she would think, if I stab this cop, everyone's going to open fire. Maybe I shouldn't do this.
Right, because
but she had no way that this fight was going to get stopped.
Right, because my friends just came to save me. I don't want them all getting shot. I think what really bums me out is, and look, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think anyone's going to have this conversation when the show comes back in February. If the characters talked about that, it'd be one thing, but I kind of don't think they will. I think they're just going to say, like, that's very sad that Beth is dead. And maybe they'll talk about why she chose to kill Dawn, which I get, the fact that Dawn was kind of proving that she, too, is part of the problem. But at that moment, it just was like, it sours Beth as a character, I think, in a way maybe they didn't intend.
Yeah, well, obviously the logic of how she died doesn't really work very well, kind of sour, but were there any good things that came out of her death?
I mean, I don't know about, look, I will say, dramatically speaking, Daryl and Maggie's reaction, that got me. I mean, I thought Norman Reedus, showing that sort of like that emotional, because Daryl Dixon, having that emotional, he not only does he shoot Dawn because he has to, but you just see how wrecked he is. Yeah. And then, Maggie, look, everyone joked that Maggie had kind of forgotten she had a sister all season, was not seeming to have any conversations about where her sister was. We kind of had to assume that she thought she was dead, but that wasn't really played. But when she sees her dead body in Daryl's hands and, breaks down, that got me. So it did work at least emotionally on that level, seeing characters I care about in pain, you know?
This episode, it just had a lot of weird things in it, didn't it?
I felt like pacing, I don't know, pacing-wise and also just structurally-wise, it was a strange episode because there was a lot of time spent with Gabriel pissing people off. I don't know about everyone, but just kind of being infuriating, you know? Like, what are you doing, man?
And then his sort of arc was so on the nose and painful that their situation is now reversed, where he's banging to get in a church and they won't let him in.
There was a lot of, it was a very on the nose. It was a lot of convenience because he literally goes back to the school to basically, he needs to know that Gareth and those guys were bad. Luckily, they left Bob's foot on the grill, It's like, what if they didn't leave Bob's foot on the grill?
Leftovers.
Right. Like, what if the foot wasn't there? Then he still wouldn't have any proof.
Well, I'm not sure if they were that bad, those cannibals.
Right. So do we have to spend that much time with Gabriel just kind of being infuriating? And then also, there was just weird choices on what they, like the fact that the cop from last week, Agent Sitwell, that seemed, why did they even have that happen, that he knocked out Sasha and escaped, if Rick was just going to, at the very beginning of the next episode, hunt him down and kill him?
Oh, well, if you didn't get it, Rick is really cold-blooded these days.
Yes, I get it.
And there's also the stuff with Carol, who's just almost like a non-character.
That was really weird to me, because especially since I think so many of us love Carol now, and she's had some good stuff earlier this season, but then, she really spent 3 or 4 episodes in a coma, and it was so weird how she starts to stir, and then we cut away, and the next thing we know, it's basically this scene, the prisoner transfer. So we have to assume that she had an entire reunion with Beth, who she hasn't seen in forever, that Beth kind of caught her up to what was happening. Very strange.
You could see that being almost an editing thing, because it would be cool to see their reunion on an emotional level, but as sort of storytelling goes, they probably had, all Beth would do would catch Carol up to oh, here's everything that's happened. The audience already knows. They want to get to the ending. Probably didn't have enough space, enough room, time. Scene got cut.
I think that's probably very true. I kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt. I bet they might have shot more there. But it then did sort of bug me that going into the episode that they even decided that we needed the Gabriel stuff. we need to have that cop escape, which was a decision made for the episode before, because at the end, I understand now they had to deal with that cop escaping, but then it just seemed like, and we had to deal with Gabriel running away, but it just seemed like, but we care about Carol and Beth more than all this other stuff. You know?
Yeah, sort of a weird, uneven episode. But in the end, we got another interesting look at Morgan.
Yeah, and look, Morgan has been a cool character the couple big times we saw him. I love Lenny James as an actor, so I'm excited that he's coming back. After 8 episodes, it's funny that he's still kind of like tracking that, and we don't even know, was he purposely tracking this group? Did he know Rick was there or not until
we got that note now, Abraham's note that verified that, hey, this is Rick Grimes I'm tracking, if there was any doubt before.
Yeah, and so I mean, at least if Morgan didn't know he was tracking Rick Grimes, now he does. So that's cool, although of course it is weird because the note is telling him to go to Washington.
Yeah, what if he goes to Washington? He's like, where is everybody?
Where is
Rick,
everybody?
Where are you?
Yeah, but I am hoping the fact that they reminded us Morgan after 8 episodes is out there, that the second half will much more actively deal with him. I can't believe they're going to keep having him in these post-credit scenes, just like, oh, just missed it. just he goes to the hospital. They're like, oh, those guys just left, you know.
So what are your final thoughts on the mid-season finale?
I'm disappointed. I thought that the early episodes of this, it's so hard not to just call it a season the way they break it up in 8 episodes, but it started out so strong.
Yeah, the first episode was so good.
Yeah, and I thought the first few were one of the best runs this show has had. But the last couple, unfortunately, kind of felt like derailed a little bit. And it was disappointing that, I don't know, it just felt like the whole hospital Beth storyline, I wish had gotten a better payoff than it did. So yeah, it's a little underwhelming, unfortunately, as we go into this kind of couple months off.
Well, that's a lot to think about until we get more Walking Dead in a little bit. So let us know what you thought about last night's episode in the comments. For all things Walking Dead, keep it right where you're at on IGN.